A blonde woman maliciously asks Marin why she is so dressed up, implying she is trying to seduce someone as a drink spills. Sneering at the young girl, she cruelly mocks the illegitimate child's audacity to wear such a fancy dress. A bystander rushes to Marin's aid as Marin fake cries about her sister's cruelty. The whispering crowd quickly condemns Lady Serena of the Fulton family, labeling her a heartless woman who constantly bullies her younger sister. Serena lets out a soft sigh as the dramatic scene unfolds before her. Heavy footsteps announce the sudden arrival of a new presence in the room. Serena taunts the newly arrived knight, mocking his predictable need to make a grand entrance to protect cute little Marin. The knight glares intensely, demanding to know what kind of act Serena is putting on. Unfazed, Serena praises his acting skills but sharply questions if lifting his injured shoulder is a struggle for him. The knight freezes in shock, wondering how she could possibly know about his hidden injury. Ignoring his confusion, Serena tells him to get his hands off her and focus on protecting Marin instead of being nosy. The knight grabs Serena abruptly, completely disregarding her abrasive words. Serena loses her balance as the knight's forceful grip pulls her unexpectedly. Pain erupts as Serena cries out in agony from the awkward fall. Holding her injured arm, she realizes with dread that her wrist has never made such a sickening sound before. Marin screams in horror as the crowd panics, wondering what Rio has just done to her sister. Total chaos erupts in the hall as guests scramble, unsure of how to handle the sudden injury. Meanwhile, Serena reflects on her lifelong ability to read the room, explaining that they should move to a different room as she always knows what her sister wants. She recalls that at this evening party, the main target is Valgoa's heir, the most prestigious eligible bachelor in high society. Contrary to rumors painting him as a country bumpkin, the Marquis's son stunned everyone with his striking height, handsome features, and warm demeanor. Even Marin is utterly captivated by him, completely abandoning her previous mockery of his country origins. Recognizing Marin's typical signals, Serena understands her sister is bored and wants to play the pitiful victim to steal the spotlight. To grant her sister's wish of being the universally loved tragic heroine, Serena willingly plays the role of the villainous, bullying half-sister. Serena dresses the part, donning a vulgar, revealing gown to draw the crowd's disgust. She completes her antagonistic look with overly showy, aggressive makeup. Resigned to her fate, she admits that she has officially become the villainess of high society, forced to play Marin's bully at every single party. A dark realization shadows her thoughts, knowing she has absolutely no choice in the matter. If she disobeys, her biased father will lock her in her room without meals, leaving her to endure all the pain and humiliation alone. In her darkest moments, she yearns to join her departed, sweet mother who would never have wished this torment upon her. Snapping back to the present, Serena is completely bewildered when the physician loudly announces she has a fracture. A handsome man suddenly approaches, gently asking the shocked Serena if she is all right. Serena stares up in awe, realizing the man checking on her is none other than Valgoa's prestigious heir. The young heir carefully supports her, his presence commanding the frantic room. He commands her to stay still as pain flares, noting the royal physician's diagnosis of a fractured bone. Looking genuinely distressed, the noble heir surprisingly takes the blame for the incident. He apologizes profusely, insisting that her painful injury is entirely his fault. Stunned by his quick apology, Serena clicks her tongue, thinking that someone as noble as the Marquis's heir shouldn't be apologizing to a villainess like her. She tries to brush off his concern, calmly stating that he merely caught her when she lost her balance. The scene fades as Serena succumbs to the exhausting pain and overwhelming events of the evening. She slowly regains consciousness to find the heir hovering over her, gently asking if she feels nauseous now that she is finally awake. Sitting up slowly, Serena weakly assures the physician that she feels fine. The doctor diagnoses her with a fractured wrist, explaining that she must keep it entirely still for a month to heal naturally. Serena politely thanks him for his service, relieved that resting is her only prescribed treatment. Startling the physician, she suddenly stands up and urgently requests a carriage. Ignoring his confusion, she firmly declares that she is going home immediately. Stepping forward, the handsome heir volunteers to personally escort her home while confirming the arrangement with his aunt. The elegant Countess Ter smiles warmly, instructing her nephew to see the injured girl off properly. The two exchange respectful farewells as the young man prepares to depart. Recognizing the elegant woman, Serena identifies her as Countess Terce. She silently notes that the Terce family's deep connection to Marquis Valgoa creates an insurmountable power gap between their respective houses. Dreading the future, she realizes her father would eagerly marry Marin off to the Valgoa family, leaving Serena to be paired with a far less respectable man. Huffing in distress, she anticipates being severely yelled at upon returning home for failing her evening duties and ruining Murin's marriage prospects. The towering noble walks silently beside her, casting a large shadow over her small frame. Suddenly losing her balance, Serena stumbles awkwardly forward on the polished floor. The heir quickly catches her fall, prompting Serena to snap defensively and demand what he wants from her. Shrinking back with immense guilt, he awkwardly apologizes for touching her and explains he was only trying to support her dizzy frame. Serena internalizes his logical explanation but continues to chastise him, insisting that men should not suddenly grab women. Trembling slightly like a scolded puppy, the giant of a man apologizes profusely for his actions. Serena mentally acknowledges that her revealing outfit usually attracts predators who try to drag her into dark corners. Scratching her cheek in sheer embarrassment, she realizes this noble is completely different and that her fall would have been disastrous without his intervention. Softening her tone, she politely asks if he would do her the honor of officially escorting her. The heir freezes entirely in place, utterly stunned by her sudden change in demeanor. Snapping back to reality, he enthusiastically agrees while clumsily executing a formal escort gesture he practiced before the event. Observing his stiff behavior, Serena wonders if the countryside lifestyle makes him unfamiliar with escorting high-society women. Alternatively, she suspects his awkwardness stems from hearing the terrible rumors surrounding her villainous reputation. Breaking the tense silence, the heir confirms her name before bizarrely asking if she is a famous actress. Utterly bewildered by the question, Serena stares blankly and concludes the man is completely eccentric. He enthusiastically explains that his sister told him the villainess trope is highly popular in the capital, praising Serena's on-point acting from the party. Dismissing her mounting confusion, he introduces himself simply as Rio and begs her to drop all formalities. Serena lets out a soft gasp as the towering man leans in close to her. Spelling his name out cheerfully, he insists over and over that she just call him Rio. Hesitantly addressing him as Lord Rio, Serena watches as he quickly waves off the need for any formal titles. Firmly establishing her identity as the first daughter of the Fulton family, she demands to know why he mistook her for a performer. Rio casually counters her defense, pointing out that she was glaringly obviously acting throughout the entire evening. He astutely details how she intentionally spilled the wine and deliberately played the part of the cruel bully. Gesturing to his own body, he notes how she actively hid a serious shoulder injury behind her hair while pretending to be perfectly fine. A dark memory flashes through Serena's mind, revealing how Murin cruelly shattered a vase against her shoulder as a prank. Stunned by his incredible perception, she listens in shock as Rio explains he noticed her splashing wine with her left hand to protect her injured right arm. Overwhelming emotion floods Serena's heart as she realizes that not even her closest friends ever believed her when Murin forced her to play the villain. Tears begin to well in her eyes as a complete stranger finally sees through the agonizing facade she has maintained for years. Whispering guests gossip about the cruel bullying, while Serena reflects on how her father's disdain and her closest friend's betrayal left her completely isolated. Gazing at Rio, Serena wonders how he instantly saw through her villainous facade when not a single person in high society ever believed her. Noticing her intense stare, the towering heir awkwardly stammers and asks if he has something on his face. Observing his genuine and transparent reaction, Serena deduces that he must have grown up surrounded by complete love and honesty. A sudden wave of deep jealousy washes over her as she contemplates his incredibly fortunate and caring upbringing. Their quiet, reflective moment is abruptly shattered by a sudden voice calling out from behind. Murin dramatically cries out for her older sister, eagerly rushing onto the scene to command attention. She charges directly towards Serena, her face twisted in a frantic and perfectly rehearsed expression of panic. Feigning intense worry, Murin loudly scolds Serena and claims she has been frantically searching for her this entire time. Serena silently notes her sister's pristine new dress, knowing Murin fully planned the wine spill just to soak up everyone's sympathy at the party. Realizing Murin is putting on another fake show, Serena correctly assumes her sister only approached them to greet the prestigious Lord Valgoa. Accepting her unavoidable fate, Serena steels herself and prepares to continue playing her assigned role as the cruel villainess. Before Serena can even move, Rio suddenly lunges forward and forcefully shouts for Murin to stop. Murin halts in utter shock, completely bewildered by the massive man suddenly blocking her path. Grabbing Murin by the head, Rio angrily chastises her rudeness and demands to know if she was trying to touch Serena's injured arm. Serena watches in utter disbelief, silently noting that grabbing a noblewoman by the head is far ruder than anything Murin was about to do. Rio is stunned to learn this girl is Serena's half-sister, loudly exclaiming that Morin's behavior is completely different from the rumors he heard. Openly mocking the young girl, Ryo boldly declares that Morin's acting is terrible and hilariously compares her awful performance to a radish. The brutal, utterly unexpected insult leaves Morin completely devastated and frozen in public humiliation. Panicking bystanders quickly rush to comfort the distressed Morin as she completely breaks down in front of the crowd. Turning his back on the chaos, Ryo firmly announces that he will take full responsibility for Serena because he refuses to let her return to a toxic environment where her injuries could worsen. Serena gasps in absolute shock, completely caught off guard by his sudden and sweeping protective declaration. The entire hall falls silent as Ryo's bold proclamation hangs in the air, shifting the dynamic of their lives completely. Stunned by the situation, Ryo gently asks if she is all right as their carriage rattles along the road. The ornate vehicle continues its steady journey through the dark, quiet night. Serena sits across from him in complete silence, processing the chaotic events of the evening. Chuckling quietly, she reflects that while Ryo's actions surprised her, it was the very first time she had ever seen such a stunned look on Morin's face. Wiping away a small tear, she admits it has been a long time since she laughed so hard despite the throbbing pain in her body. She continues to giggle softly, letting the rare moment of genuine, unbridled amusement completely wash over her. A sudden flashback reveals an older woman sternly warning Ryo to prepare himself for a severe scolding. Ryo remembers the intense conversation clearly, feeling the weight of his aunt's reprimand. The distressed woman laments that of all the people in high society, the one he injured just had to be the notorious poisonous lady of the Fulton family. Promising to prevent the situation from escalating into blackmail, she firmly orders Ryo to stay behind while she handles the disastrous fallout. Ryo agrees to stay put, genuinely wondering if this infamous woman is truly as terrifying as everyone claims. Musing on her incredible performance at the party, he acknowledges exactly why she earned such a fearsome and toxic title. He questions if she truly possesses a fiery temper like his aunt warned, or if she was merely playing a fitting role for the vicious crowd. Pulling his thoughts back to the present, Ryo quietly observes Serena's startlingly pale face and incredibly thin arms. Noting her fragile frame, he wonders if she even eats properly since she looks like she could break with just a little force. He quickly shakes his head in guilt, firmly reminding himself that her delicate appearance does not justify him causing her injury. His gaze shifts upward to her hair, utterly mesmerized by its almost white, stunningly platinum blonde color. Comparing her fragile beauty to Cynthia's sunny and cheerful golden hair, he finds Serena to be entirely unique. Remembering the exact moment she fell, he recalls catching her and urgently checking if she was all right. Staring deeply into her crystal-clear, water-blue eyes, he is completely struck by how amazingly beautiful they are. He continues to gaze at her intently in the dim carriage, entirely captivated by her elegant features. Snapping out of his daze as his aunt's dire warning echoes in his mind, he awkwardly apologizes for the entire disastrous incident. Serena gently reassures the towering man, pointing out that the unfortunate accident wasn't his fault at all. She calmly explains that he was merely trying to catch her when she unexpectedly lost her balance. Watching her composed and forgiving reaction, Ryo realizes that despite her cold exterior, there is something much warmer underneath. Smiling to himself, he confidently concludes that this supposedly toxic woman is definitely kind-hearted. He leans into his instincts, noting that he has always possessed a remarkably good sense for judging people's true characters. The carriage suddenly rattles loudly as they hit a bump, breaking the quiet tension between them. Unable to contain her lingering amusement any longer, Serena bursts into a fit of laughter and admits she simply can't hold it in. Watching her laugh so freely, Ryo firmly decides that Lady Serena is absolutely nothing like the vicious rumors suggest. He leans in slightly as she chuckles, catching a sudden and highly unexpected scent in the enclosed space. Taking a subtle breath, he pleasantly realizes she smells incredibly nice, carrying the delicate aroma of cosmos flowers. Serena abruptly stops laughing, noticing his strange posture and staring blankly at him. Tilting her head in mild confusion, she leans forward and politely asks if something is wrong. Utterly flustered by getting caught, Ryo quickly waves his hands and loudly insists that absolutely nothing is wrong. He mentally contrasts her natural, light scent with the overpowering, suffocating perfumes drenched over all the other women at the ball. He marvels again at how Lady Serena's delicate cosmos scent stands out so beautifully against everything he experienced tonight. Panicking internally, he furiously scolds himself to have good manners and remembers his aunt warning him about the capital's strict etiquette. Blushing deeply, Ryo silently screams at himself, realizing just how incredibly inappropriate it is to secretly sniff a noble lady. The carriage continues rolling steadily under the night sky as the giant man desperately wrestles with his sudden, overwhelming embarrassment. Looking up at the grand estate, Serena timidly asks Rio whose residence they have just arrived at. Rio calmly explains that the impressive mansion belongs to Count Terce, who has been graciously hosting him during his stay in the capital. A servant warmly welcomes Rio back, prompting Serena to nervously wonder if it is truly acceptable to bring a stranger into his host's home. Introducing Serena to the staff, Rio boldly admits he injured her and commands that she will stay at the mansion until she fully recovers. Without missing a beat, a polite maid accepts the sudden arrangement and respectfully offers to escort Serena to the guest quarters. Serena quietly follows the maid down the sprawling, beautifully decorated hallway. Observing her surroundings, Serena marvels at the incredibly refined maids and notes that not a single one looked surprised by her sudden arrival. She realizes with a heavy heart that this peaceful atmosphere is completely different from the toxic environment of her own home. Paranoia creeping into her thoughts, she wonders if they are only acting nice because Rio is present and fears their true colors will show once he leaves. The head maid gently stops in front of a large, ornate double door and gestures for Serena to step inside. Opening the heavy doors, the servant reveals a sprawling, impeccably prepared guest suite bathed in warm light. Stepping inside the massive suite, Serena gazes in sheer awe at the incredibly luxurious furnishings surrounding her. Bowing deeply and respectfully, the maid kindly bids Lady Serena to rest well. Serena offers a hesitant, quiet confirmation as she awkwardly processes the overwhelming hospitality. Standing firmly in the doorway, Rio reminds the staff that Serena is a highly important guest and commands them to fulfill every single request. The diligent maid immediately bows and confirms she understands the noble's strict instructions perfectly. Turning back to Serena, Rio politely excuses himself for a moment and leaves her in the care of the attentive staff. As his towering figure disappears, Serena's deep insecurities instantly flare up as she firmly believes she is not a welcome guest here. Suddenly, the maids completely surround her, their eyes sparkling with intense dedication as they closely examine her fragile frame. Serena flinches back in absolute shock, totally unprepared for their sudden and overwhelming physical scrutiny. The anxious maids frantically fret over finding appropriate, non-burdensome clothing that will perfectly fit her incredibly thin figure while protecting her injuries. Serena blushes deeply in sheer confusion, silently wondering if the frantic staff just complimented her delicate appearance. The head maid smoothly apologizes for the commotion and confidently asks Serena to leave absolutely everything to their capable hands. Snapping into focused action, the maids cheerfully announce they will have a warm bath prepared immediately while Serena weakly agrees. Serena reflects in quiet disbelief, realizing that this incredible level of pampering would be completely unthinkable back at her own house. Soaking in the warm water, she nervously wonders if it is truly okay for a villainess like her to enjoy such a wonderfully luxurious bath. The attentive maids gently ask about her preferred soap and water temperature, leaving Serena stunned since no one has ever treated her so kindly before. Completely overwhelmed by their genuine warmth, she softly thanks them and decides to leave the bathing choices entirely up to their expertise. The maids happily urge her to relax while Serena melancholically remembers the dark time immediately after her beloved mother passed away. She painfully recalls how her father's mistress took over the house and stole all affection, leaving Serena as the completely unwanted and unloved child. Reflecting on her choices, Serena knows defying Murrin brings dire consequences. The household staff mercilessly mocked her, leaving her utterly isolated and alone. However, she realizes there is one single exception to her total loneliness. Serena fondly remembers her one precious maid, hoping she isn't terribly worried. Exhaustion finally overtakes her battered body as she drifts into a deep sleep. Waking up groggily, she struggles to remember exactly when she fell asleep. Feeling someone gently adjusting her hair, Serena softly murmurs her sincere thanks. The kind maid startles and apologizes, making Serena wonder if she's dreaming. Convinced this comforting warmth is a fragile illusion, she willingly welcomes the sweet dream. Morning sunlight breaks over the grand exterior of Count Terce's luxurious estate. Inside, the Count explodes in disbelief upon learning Rio fractured a random woman's wrist. The Count nervously asks if the infamous poisonous lady of high society is all right. Rio angrily demands why the Count withheld those vicious rumors during his bride search. Standing his ground, Rio firmly declares that Serena is absolutely not a poisonous lady. He confidently taps his head, insisting he just has a knack for reading people. The Count and his wife relent, silently acknowledging Rio's remarkably sharp judgment. They recall how Rio effortlessly detected a shady merchant scam against the Marquis. Accepting his flawless instincts, they curiously ask Rio what kind of woman Serena truly is. Blushing wildly, Rio completely derails the conversation by loudly blurting out that she smells nice. The Count and his wife stare blankly at Rio's utterly embarrassing and unexpected declaration. Meanwhile, Serena fully awakens, realizing the incredible luxury and kindness wasn't a dream after all. Opening the curtains to let in the morning light, a cheerful maid warmly greets her lady. Realizing the luxurious treatment wasn't a dream, Serena watches as the maid gently asks if she would like to change her clothes. The maid explains that the elegant garments belong to the master's only daughter, Lady Aurelia, who recently married and moved out. Panic sets in as the maid mentions the master is ready to meet, making Serena realize she hasn't properly introduced herself to Count Tach's wife yet. Attempting to rush out to meet him, Serena winces in pain while the maid urgently begs her not to strain herself. The attentive maids immediately surround her, soothingly insisting that they will handle all the preparations. Serena quietly observes the diligent staff, wondering if these peaceful people know absolutely nothing about the dark rumors surrounding her. A deep sense of confusion washes over her as she desperately questions why they are treating a villainess with such incredible kindness and care. Holding up a beautiful, elegantly modest dress, the head maid politely asks if the selection is fine for her to wear. Gazing softly at the pristine fabric, Serena wonders how long it has been since she wore something that truly reflects her own personality. A dark memory surfaces, showing Murrin aggressively shoving a vulgar dress at her and demanding she wear it to the evening party. Murrin cruelly taunts that the revealing outfit highlights her chest and waist, forcing her to make pure Murrin shine in comparison. Young Serena stares at the scandalous fabric in her hands, her face filled with deep hesitation and dread. Sensing her sister's reluctance, Murrin instantly glares and viciously threatens to tell their father if she refuses. Completely defeated by the threat, Serena lowers her head and quietly accepts her humiliating fate. Forced into the boldly revealing dress, Serena stands in her dark room looking utterly miserable and broken. Murrin bursts through the door with a wicked grin, loudly asking if her big sister is finally done dressing. Clasping her hands in fake admiration, the twisted younger sister gleefully declares that the horrible outfit looks absolutely amazing. Murrin cruelly laughs that the bold clothes make Serena look nothing like a proper lady at all. Pointing a commanding finger, Murrin orders her sister to wear the dress, tease her publicly, and laugh wickedly to complete the villainous act. Serena remembers quietly agreeing to the cruel demand, noting that she completely stopped smiling from that day forward. Touching her own face, she sorrowfully realizes that her expression no longer holds the beautiful smile her beloved mother once cherished. Snapping back to the present, she holds the modest dress and reflects on how long she has been trapped playing the villainous woman. Staring into the mirror, a gentle warmth fills her eyes as she softly whispers to her mother that she can finally smile again. The head maid steps back to admire their work, warmly complimenting how absolutely wonderful the new dress looks on her. Turning around with a breathtaking, genuinely radiant smile, Serena softly thanks the diligent staff for their help. The maid freezes completely in place, utterly stunned into silence by the sheer beauty of Serena's true smile. Misinterpreting the sudden silence, Serena's insecurities instantly flare as she frantically wonders if the maids hate her now. A sudden knock interrupts the tense moment as a maid announces that the master and mistress have arrived to greet her. Quickly composing herself, Serena smoothly grants them permission to enter the luxurious guest room. The heavy wooden doors swing open to reveal the imposing figures of the estate's noble hosts. Rio cheerfully bounds into the room ahead of the others, loudly and enthusiastically asking Lady Serena if she slept well. Serena politely confirms she rested well, offering her deepest thanks to Lord Rio and the newly arrived Count and Countess Tachi. The Countess stares intensely at the modest, beautiful girl, utterly bewildered as she asks if this is truly the infamous poisonous lady from the Felton family. Lowering her gaze awkwardly, Serena confirms her identity while accepting that this toxic title is the only impression society has of her. Rio triumphantly points at her, proudly reminding the Count that he already deduced Serena's horrible behavior at the party was just a forced act. Staring at the towering man who completely saw through her painful facade, Serena internally praises Lord Rio as an absolute angel. Stepping forward with a serious, commanding expression, the Count firmly agrees with Rio's astute assessment. The Count boldly declares that the vicious rumors claiming Lady Serena is the poisonous lady of high society are nothing but absolute lies. Serena stares at the powerful noble in wide-eyed shock, completely overwhelmed as her long-held villainous reputation is shattered in an instant. Serena hesitantly asks the hosts why exactly they choose to trust her. The Countess gestures for her to sit down and talk calmly, confessing that she has actually been testing Serena since last night. She explains receiving a shocking report from the head maid about Lord Rio bringing an injured lady named Serena into their home. The noble couple was completely shocked that Rio brought her back instead of simply returning her home. Fearing the worst, the Countess assumed her kind-hearted nephew had been successfully seduced by a notorious bad woman. Deciding to expose her true colors, the Countess intentionally assigned young maids to test if Serena would treat them harshly behind Rio's back. Despite the inexperienced maids fumbling everything from washing her feet to doing her hair, Serena never once lost her temper. The Countess reveals that the entire staff was deeply moved because Serena actually thanked them instead of getting angry. Rio looks at his aunt in utter disbelief, shocked that she actually went to such lengths to test his guest. Defending her actions, the Countess reminds him that Lady Serena is widely known in high society as the villainous, poisonous lady. She frantically demands to know what Serena did to earn such a title, justifying her worry that her pure nephew was falling for a toxic woman. The Count firmly intervenes, urging his wife to calm down while agreeing that Serena is clearly not the terrible woman the rumors describe. He points out that despite suffering from a painful injury, Serena still respectfully greeted them standing up. He adds that if she were truly evil, she would have immediately used her injury to pressure their family. The Count notes she could have easily demanded heavy compensation from them from the very start. Still doubting her own worth, Serena quietly asks if they ever considered she might just be acting kind to deceive everyone. Smiling warmly, the Count confidently asserts that he and his wife possess a very good ability to discern people's true intentions. He explains that in high society where lies are abundant, they simply wouldn't have survived without uncovering such deceits. Rio triumphantly turns to his uncle, pointing out that this is exactly why he always maintained that Lady Serena is not an evil woman. He confidently declares that the vicious rumors surrounding her are nothing but absolute lies. Overwhelmed by their steadfast defense, Serena silently repeats the phrase "not an evil woman" in sheer disbelief. Tears begin to well in her eyes as she processes the incredible reality that people actually believe in her goodness. Watching her tear up, the Countess feels deeply sorry for her past hardships and gently asks her husband if there is anything they can do to help. Rio steps closer and gently tells Serena not to cry as a large tear streaks down her face. Wiping away her tears, he warmly reassures her that she looks so much better when she smiles. Rio gazes softly at her, telling her that her smile is incredibly beautiful. A vivid memory flashes through Serena's mind of her mother gently praising her wonderful smile. Blushing deeply, Serena realizes she never expected to hear those precious words from anyone else again. She stares at Rio in wide-eyed wonder, fully processing the genuine kindness radiating from his expression. Rio offers her a bright, comforting smile, completely shattering the lingering shadows in her heart. The scene abruptly shifts to an opulent estate where an angry figure stands trembling in the shadows. Murrin bites her lip furiously, her face twisting into an ugly scowl of pure, unadulterated rage. She violently crushes a beautiful flower in her hand, utterly consumed by her bitter jealousy and malice. Glaring intensely with dark, hateful eyes, Murrin seethes and vows that she will never forgive her big sister. Murrin furiously demands to know what her cruel elder sister said to the Valgoa family's son. Trembling with indignation, Murrin seethes over the unthinkable audacity of someone daring to use violence against her. She angrily assumes Serena used vicious lies to deceive the innocent noble young man from the countryside. Feigning intense victimhood, Murrin dramatically laments her elder sister's supposed cruelty to anyone listening. A subservient knight bows his head, profusely apologizing to Miss Murrin for failing to protect her. Scoffing at his apology, Murrin viciously mocks the low-ranking noble as completely unfit to be a knight. Shifting to play the fragile victim, she claims she cannot stand and demands he carry her. Sweating nervously, the eager knight stammers his immediate compliance and moves to obey her strict command. Murrin smugly decides to forgive him, noting he treats her like a precious treasure. Glaring down coldly, she abruptly orders her exhausted maid to fetch the heavy luggage entirely by herself. Bowing respectfully, the diligent maid immediately complies with Miss Murrin's harsh and demanding order. Murrin gleefully reflects that having a low-ranking noble serve her makes her shine brightly by comparison. She maliciously notes that the maid's father never truly loved her, forcing the discarded girl into servitude. Comparing the servant to Serena, Murrin twistedly concludes that a lack of love guarantees social death. The ornate carriage slowly rolls forward as Murrin continues her dark monologue in the quiet shadows. Sneering at Serena, Murrin considers it absolute fact that nobody could love a child from a forced marriage. Caressing her own face with immense pride, she confidently declares she is the only truly loved daughter. She romanticizes her parents' illicit affair, recounting how her father secretly promised to make her mother countess. Believing God favored them when Serena's mother died, Marin celebrates how they easily usurped the Fulton household. She entirely dismisses the heartless rumors and foolish pity people hold for Serena as the rightful heir. Enduring cruel gossip, Marin reveals they kept Serena around specifically to play the wicked sister. By forcing Serena to wear daring attire, they successfully slandered the elder sister's reputation to elevate themselves. Remembering the early days, Marin recalls how fiercely Serena initially resisted her assigned villainous role. A cruel smirk crosses her face as she remembers starving Serena into total compliance. Despite harsh punishments, Serena occasionally still showed flashes of defiance by refusing to wear scandalous dresses. A heavy, menacing silence fills the air as Marin contemplates her sister's past stubbornness. Grinning sadistically, Marin justifies her violent actions, deciding physical persuasion is entirely necessary. Recalling her father's strict orders, Marin uses food to force Serena's obedience in the isolated annex. Snapping back to the present, Marin bristles with absolute fury over Serena's defiant attitude tonight. Bursting through the estate doors, Marin unleashes a massive wail to instantly grab her parents' attention. Her parents rush forward in a panic, desperately asking their precious daughter what upset her so much. Burying her face in her hands, Marin immediately blames her elder sister for her intense distress. Her mother instantly takes the bait, angrily assuming Serena maliciously mistreated her younger sister again. Trembling with rage, the mother fiercely curses Serena for carrying the previous wife's undesirable blood. The furious mother vows to severely punish Serena, begging Marin to explain the horrifying incident. Stepping in with a calculating expression, the father abruptly asks if this involves the Valgoa family. Startled by his oddly calm demeanor, Marin and her mother pause their ranting in complete confusion. The mother frantically demands to know why her husband isn't completely enraged like usual. Ignoring his wife's panic, the father strictly asks Marin for her opinion on the Valgoa heir. Screaming loudly, Marin throws a massive tantrum and furiously declares how much she hates the terrible lord. Pacing angrily, Marin furiously blames Serena for the disastrous events of the evening while demanding answers from her parents. Her parents hesitate awkwardly, unsure of exactly how to soothe their spoiled daughter's sudden outburst. Calming down slightly, Marin reluctantly concedes that the young lord might actually be a wonderful person after all. She calculatingly notes that since everyone admired him at the party, he must possess incredibly high value. Her father gently suggests she try being friendly with the Valgoa heir, but Marin immediately rejects the idea as totally impossible. Pouting bitterly, she insists the handsome noble absolutely hates her now entirely because of Serena's interference. Rushing to comfort her, the doting parents fiercely declare that no man could ever resist her incredible beauty. Soaking up their desperate flattery, Marin's arrogance quickly returns as she smugly agrees that she is indeed beautiful. Shifting the blame entirely, she rationalizes that Serena must have ruined her reputation and caused a massive misunderstanding. A servant suddenly interrupts her plotting, announcing the arrival of an urgent message directly from Count Terce. Gripping the letter tightly, the father seethes with sudden rage as he furiously reads Serena's name. He loudly reveals that Serena's injury caused major trouble for their noble hosts, prompting Marin to gasp in vindicated shock. Marin maliciously accuses her sister of faking an injury to leech care from the Terce family and secretly seduce the Valgoa heir. The anxious mother turns to her husband, nervously asking what he plans to do about this highly disastrous situation. The father strictly orders Marin to retrieve Serena, but the spoiled girl instantly throws a tantrum and completely refuses. The calculating father explains that showing fake compassion toward her injured sister will quickly change the young lord's opinion. Marin's eyes instantly light up with pure greed as her mother enthusiastically agrees with the highly manipulative plan. Clasping her hands together, the wicked girl gleefully praises her father's absolutely brilliant suggestion. She immediately fantasizes about parading the Valgoa heir at the next party to exact cruel revenge and prove her absolute superiority. Meanwhile, Serena sits quietly in the luxurious Terce estate, nervously gripping her elegant teacup. The Count leans forward with a gentle expression, politely asking Serena to explain why she was forced to play the wicked woman. Serena lowers her gaze, timidly agreeing to finally reveal the dark truth of her incredibly painful past. Taking a deep, shaking breath, she slowly prepares to unravel years of intense, hidden torment. Tears prick her delicate eyes as she admits she never imagined anyone would actually sit and listen to her tragic story. She sorrowfully recounts the dark day of her mother's funeral, explaining how her stepmother and half-sister instantly invaded their home. The vicious stepmother immediately seized control, ruthlessly starving Serena whenever she failed to obey strict, arbitrary orders. Serena reveals she initially resisted the cruel punishments, but was eventually forced into wearing scandalous dresses to parties. Stripped of all her loyal servants and left completely alone, the isolated girl eventually gave up and entirely stopped fighting back. The Countess gasps in absolute horror, declaring she could never bear seeing her own daughter endure such unimaginable suffering. Trembling with protective fury, the Count firmly declares he will absolutely not allow Serena to return to her abusive family. Serena softly murmurs her agreement as the heavy conversation continues. The Count gently explains that they cannot simply take her away from her biological father without initiating proper legal steps. Turning to the older noble, Rio asks his uncle exactly what he plans to do next. The Count confidently states that they will first gather concrete evidence of her mistreatment to legally sever her ties with the Fulton family. Trembling with sudden hope, Serena asks in sheer disbelief if she can truly break free from her abusive family forever. The Count assures her to leave the legal battle entirely to him while she focuses strictly on recovering from her injury. Tears rapidly well up in Serena's wide eyes as she fully processes the immense weight of his protective promise. She reflects with overwhelming emotion that she never once imagined anyone would actually listen to her and believe her painful truth. Calling this miraculous moment a beautiful dream, Serena offers her deepest and most heartfelt thanks to her noble saviors. Utterly overcome by profound gratitude, she softly weeps genuine tears of absolute relief. Rio watches her emotional release quietly, his handsome face softening with deep, compassionate understanding. Wanting to give the exhausted girl some much-needed space, the Count and Countess kindly excuse themselves from the luxurious room. The heavy wooden doors click shut, leaving the towering heir completely alone with the recovering young woman. Dropping abruptly to his knees, Rio lowers his massive frame directly beside her resting spot. Looking up with intense, unwavering determination, he softly calls out her name to grab her attention. He firmly begs for the absolute honor of personally taking care of her until her painful injuries are completely healed. Caught entirely off guard by his pure devotion, Serena reflexively murmurs her quiet agreement to his bold request. A massive, radiant smile breaks across Rio's face as he enthusiastically thanks her for the incredible privilege. Realizing she agreed out of pure habit, Serena stares in silent wonder, questioning why caring for her makes him so incredibly happy. A maid respectfully serves Lady Serena a steaming, beautifully plated dish. Serena's eyes sparkle with pure delight as she marvels at the incredibly delicious-looking meal placed before her. Overwhelmed by the luxurious spread, she reflects that it has been agonizingly long since she last saw such a proper meal. Rio warmly invites her to eat, noting that she hasn't had breakfast yet. Pushing aside her initial hesitation, Serena eagerly decides to accept the wonderful food being offered to her. Realizing she cannot use her dominant hand, Serena nervously asks the maids for assistance before Rio suddenly volunteers. The towering noble abruptly leans in close, fully prepared to personally feed the injured girl. Serena blushes deeply, completely flustered by his unexpected and overwhelming proximity. Frantically waving her good hand, Serena loudly insists that he absolutely does not need to feed her. Completely bewildered, Serena demands to know why Lord Rio is insisting on helping her instead of the maids. Rio stubbornly claims responsibility for her injury, while Serena firmly rejects his unnecessary consideration. Desperate to escape the embarrassing situation, she pleads for anyone else in the room to assist her instead. Rio instantly commands the room, fiercely forbidding the staff from intervening in his self-appointed duty. Realizing the maids cannot defy Lord Rio's wishes, Serena accepts that resisting further will only cause more confusion. Conceding defeat with a heavy sigh, she prepares to negotiate a reasonable compromise. Snatching back some control, she quickly asks Rio to hand over the fork. Serena pragmatically suggests that if he simply cuts the food, she can easily eat with her left hand. Rio immediately agrees to the compromise, smoothly taking the utensils to slice her meal. Watching him work, Serena recalls painful memories of being constantly berated for completely lacking charm. She remembers cruel voices mocking her cold stare and insisting it is no wonder people strongly dislike her. Lowering her gaze, she sorrowfully admits to herself that she simply doesn't know how to act sweet and open. She bitterly notes that Morin would have happily let the handsome lord feed her to appear charming. Certain that Lord Rio must be angry at her stubborn attitude, Serena laments her total inability to change. Completely oblivious to her dark thoughts, Rio cheerfully quotes his grandmother's advice about doing things for oneself to avoid growing old quickly. Serena snaps back to reality in sheer shock, utterly offended that he indirectly compared her to an old woman. Smiling warmly, Rio finishes slicing the food and promises to help only with the things she truly cannot do herself. Touched by his genuine respect for her boundaries, Serena softly thanks him and marvels at what an unusually kind person he is. She silently acknowledges his undeniable kindness as they finish their quiet meal. Glancing sideways, she awkwardly wonders why he is still hovering around long after the food is gone. Panic sets in as she realizes how incredibly inappropriate it is for an unmarried man and woman to be alone in a bedroom. Rationalizing the awkward situation, she depressingly concludes that he probably doesn't even view her as a woman. Desperate to escape the stuffy room, she instantly agrees when Rio cheerfully suggests they take a walk outside. Rio suddenly steps forward, closing the distance between them in a flash. Serena shrieks in pure shock as the towering man suddenly scoops her up into his massive arms. Flailing in his grip, she insists her legs work perfectly fine, but Rio stubbornly argues that her high heels are far too dangerous to walk in. He reveals he already sent the staff to buy proper shoes, completely ignoring her flustered accusations that he is just making excuses. Blushing furiously, Serena demands to know why he even suggested a walk if she literally had no safe shoes to wear. Rio pauses mid-stride, blinking in completely innocent realization that her logic is absolutely flawless. Shrugging off his logical blunder, Rio cheerfully announces that they have already arrived at their destination. He confidently carries the blushing, utterly bewildered villainess down the grand hallway, completely refusing to let her go. Rio pauses his stride and gently asks if she wants to head back indoors. Resigning herself to the situation, Serena decides to just continue the walk since she lacks proper shoes anyway. Gazing around the gorgeous garden, she admits she would like to enjoy the beautiful view a bit longer. A soft, genuine smile crosses Rio's face as he calls her decision splendid. He warmly expresses how genuinely glad he is that the garden pleases her. Serena stares up at him, a sudden realization blooming in her mind. She silently wonders if Lord Rio specifically brought her to this garden just to lift her battered spirits. Acknowledging his impulsive nature, she realizes she cannot sense any ill intent from him whatsoever. Remembering how he easily saw through her act, she considers letting her guard down to finally trust him. A faint smile graces her lips as she decides this unexpected walk isn't so bad after all. Observing her relaxed posture, Rio notes that she has finally let her guard down. Breaking the quiet atmosphere, he casually mentions that she reminds him of a wildcat. A flashback reveals a younger Rio desperately trying to calm down a frantic creature. A fierce, dirt-covered wildcat bares its fangs and growls viciously at the towering boy. Rio notes with pity that the starving, injured animal just keeps growling defensively at him. Sighing in defeat, he realizes there is simply no other choice to win its trust. Reaching into his supplies, he plops a piece of food gently onto the ground. The wildcat freezes, glaring suspiciously at him before eyeing the unexpected meal. Trembling slightly, the cautious feline slowly inches toward the offered food. It quickly leans down and takes a hesitant bite. Rio watches in pleasant surprise as the creature accepts his offering. The starving wildcat ravenously devours the meal, making soft noises of pure delight. A warm, gentle smile spreads across Rio's face as he watches the animal eat. Finishing its meal, the wildcat lets out a much softer, less threatening growl. Reaching out carefully, Rio gently pats its head to comfort the frightened creature. The wildcat finally surrenders, leaning into his warm touch with a contented purr. Back in the present, Rio fondly remembers that the wildcat only growled to protect its fragile self. He feels a surge of happiness upon noticing the defensive tension finally leaving Serena's body. Serena suddenly snaps to attention, completely caught off guard by his intense gaze. Rio abruptly changes the subject, audibly marveling at the incredibly pleasant scent in the air. Serena easily agrees, assuming he is admiring the refined fragrance of the blooming roses. Staring deeply into her eyes, Rio clarifies that it is actually Lady Serena who smells absolutely wonderful. Serena blushes furiously in shock, loudly insisting that she doesn't smell anything at all. Flustered and confused, she suddenly wonders if the pleasant scent is actually coming from Lord Rio himself. Leaning in dangerously close, she boldly sniffs his clothes to investigate her theory. She takes a deep, focused breath right against his massive chest. Pulling back quickly, she confirms there is absolutely no scent coming from the towering knight. Her cheeks burning red, she glares suspiciously and wonders if he is just mercilessly teasing her. Rio suddenly flinches violently, his face erupting in a massive blush as his heart races out of control. Utterly bewildered by his sudden panic, Serena tilts her head and innocently asks if something is wrong. Blushing with embarrassment, Ryo awkwardly confesses that his sister often calls him completely insensitive or thoughtless. Caught entirely off guard, Serena silently wonders where this bizarre conversation is suddenly heading. Ryo admits he was just incredibly embarrassed when she sniffed him earlier, frantically worrying that he might actually smell bad. Realizing how incredibly awkward it is when someone suddenly sniffs you, Serena sheepishly apologizes for her strange behavior. Staring at the towering man, Serena marvels at how remarkably straightforward Ryo is by sincerely apologizing and owning his mistakes. Duchess Terse abruptly storms into the garden, fiercely warning her nephew that she will ruthlessly scold him if he acted improperly with Lady Serena. Flustered by his aunt's sudden arrival, Ryo waves his hands frantically to explain they were merely taking a harmless walk outside. Stepping forward gracefully, Serena assures the panicked Duchess that everything is completely fine, while Ryo nervously decides to bring a maid next time. The Duchess visibly relaxes her aggressive posture, willingly dropping the tense issue entirely since Serena defended him. Shifting to serious business, the Duchess solemnly presents an urgent message that just arrived directly from the Fulton family. Trembling with sudden fear, Serena begs the Duchess to keep her away from anyone in that toxic house, prompting the older woman to immediately agree. A frantic maid suddenly bursts onto the scene, loudly announcing that the young lady of the Fulton family has already arrived at the estate. The Duchess gasps in absolute shock, entirely outraged that the wicked Murrin shamelessly forced her way inside before they could officially decline her visit. Stepping out of her ornate carriage, Murrin stares at the massive Terse estate with greedy eyes and marvels at how much it resembles a royal castle.